All right, I just wanted to go over what we went over today and just simply show you quickly how, without the counters and all the long explanation, how to do this. So these are some of those sample questions from that I used the counters with. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So what we have going on here is we need to subtraction. We discovered is the same thing as adding the opposite. Okay, so I'm looking at all these problems, and one of the first things I want to remind you of is that every single time we did these problems, we never changed, we never touched that front number. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight those so that you can see, okay, those hands off, just leave those. So I've got -1 minus -9. So -1 minus -9 is the same thing as saying -1 plus +9. Add the opposite. There's my 2 marks. So -1 plus 9, that's going to be 8. -2 minus -4. Make my 2 marks. Minus becomes plus, -4 becomes +4. So add the opposite. So -2 plus 4 is 2. So -3 minus -7. 2 marks. Oh, that's going to be 4. So -3 plus 7 is 4. -10 minus -6. That's the same thing as saying -10 plus a +6. So that's going to be -4. -6 minus -5. So that's the same thing as saying -6 plus a +5. And so we do our 2 marks, and then we just do the math. So -6 plus 5 is -1. And so it just goes on. So it's just simply just visually saying, okay, I'm not touching that. I'm going to go in and do my 2 marks, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'll talk about that here in a second. In fact, I'll just do that first one. So -11 minus -8 became -11 plus +8, and that's -3. Now these are a little bit different because that first mark is going to make that into a plus, but the second mark is not as obvious because there's nothing there, so you make that a minus. So it was positive, you make it negative. -2 plus -7 is -9 because they're both negative, so now we're adding. I went -2 in the negative direction, now I'm going to go 7 more, and I end up at -9. Okay, so now I'm looking at this next problem. -6 minus 9 is the same thing as -6 plus -9. Oh, that's that same principle. They're both the same sign, so it's -15. So that's how you add the mark when there's not a mark already there. You just put a little negative sign above there, okay? So now I go here, and now I'm going to visually say, okay, don't touch the first one. And just for fun, if you guys had a worksheet, you could do this. I'm just going to go through and go add the opposite, 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 add the opposite. And now I can do the math. So -12 and -3, -15. 8 and 1, 9. 5 and 12, 17. 9 and 8, 17. 6 and -12, -6. 7 and -8, -1. And so it's from that point, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so one last little group of problems down here. There might be something different there that maybe you need, so I'm going to do it. Don't touch the first ones. Make my 2 marks, add the opposite, add the opposite, add the opposite. So then 9 and -11, -2, -7 and -1. I'm going to add those, be -8. 2 and -8 is going to be -6. And so you can see here, I just went through that really quick. Just use your 2 marks. Leave the first one alone. Okay, I will post this so you guys can check it and just see how you're doing. But this is not your homework, so do not copy the answers. This is just so you can see from the expert's perspective what's going on. All right, thank you. Have a good afternoon.